Hello, and welcome to the first ever video episode of the Hawkey PuckCast. If you're listening right now on audio, guess what? Nothing changes. If you're here for the first time on Nick's YouTube channel, Windy City Hockey, this is the Hawkey PuckCast. It is a Blackhawks fan podcast about the Chicago Blackhawks. My name is Tyler, and we usually have another co-host here with us, Wally. He's not here with us today, but we do have our two other co-hosts, Nick.
Hey, you guys already know me.
And John.
I'm sad that Lucas Reichel has been called up.
Yes, he has. And because we have video podcasts now, we have an extra segment that we can add into this. Nick is our jersey guy. So, Nick, what jersey are you wearing today?
Well, I'm wearing my 2016 Nicholas Jarmerson Stadium Series jersey. Yes, we lost 6-1, but this is still a great jersey.
Yeah, the Stadium Series in 2016 was that Minnesota?
That was the Minnesota game.
Minnesota, okay. Was that the game where they fired Mike Yeo the day before?
I think they fired him about a week before those.
It was a couple games before, and that was their first game with their new coach.
Yeah, it was one of their first games.
Beat us badly. Yeah, I have on my Brandon Hagel jersey, which we will talk more about later because I was at last night's game against Tampa, and Bagel.
And I'm wearing a Rock Valley sweatshirt.
And a Rockford hat as well. An autograph on it.
Looks like an autograph on there.
Yeah, what's the autograph on the
this one?
On the hat? Yeah.
This is the Isaac Phillips created hat.
Okay.
Oh, it's really nice. And it's got an Isaac Phillips autograph on it. That's sick.
Well, it's like printed on, so it's not a real autograph.
It was a hat designed by him.
Yeah, it's a hat designed by Isaac Phillips.
That's cool.
They did one this year with Josiah Slavin.
I tried getting that hat. I couldn't get it in time.
All right. And with that, let's get into the first point of business. Earlier today, we all saw that there was the World Junior semifinals that happened. The finals are tomorrow, and I just want to go through a quick rundown of some of the things that happened. First off, involving Hawks prospects. Obviously, you guys probably know this. Colton Dach, a couple of games ago, got injured when he was playing, and a really difficult situation. It was, I believe, they were playing against Sweden, and it was a bad injury. He runs into he's just going for a check. It wasn't even something that should have caused an injury, and then bam, he's just like something really bad happened to his shoulder. I don't know if we know the exact detail of what happened to his shoulder.
They didn't give any detail, but the way it looked, hopefully it wasn't, but they showed him in a sling the following day. So I hope where he can come back sooner rather than later, because his shoulder looked messed up. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that.
Can we stop sending docs to the World Juniors, please? It is so terrible.
Yeah. Okay. And there is actually a very weird parallel with that as well. Not only it's like this wasn't like if you talk about plays where people would get injured and like freak accidents, the play where Kirby Dach got hurt was literally just a collision through the neutral zone. And the play where Colton Dach gets hurt, he's going for a body check.
Yeah.
It's not even there's no reason for either of them to get hurt in that situation. And the other weird parallel in that situation, the Hawks ended up drafting the guy that Kirby Dach collided with, Ilya Safonov, the next year. So I just want to point this out for everyone who's watching this right now. The guy that Colton Dach tried to body check when he got hurt, his name is Victor Sjoholm, Sjoholm. He's undrafted, and he's in his draft D+2 year. If he gets picked by the Hawks, you heard it here first.
How much is the wager on that? Do you know? Do we know?
Oh, I'm not putting any money. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't bet. You do you. I don't sports gamble.
I mean, I don't either. I'm just wondering what's like the odds that we pick this guy up.
Probably not very high, but it would be funny. But then on to the rest of the World Juniors talk. All Hawks prospects that played in the World Juniors made it to the semifinals. We only had Hawks prospects on 2 teams, Canada and Sweden. Sweden ended up playing a really nice game against Finland in the quarterfinals, where with about a minute and a half to go, on the penalty kill, Victor Hermborg ends up stripping the puck away, ending up on a breakaway, and he scores to give Team Sweden the 3-2 victory.
To note, it was also a shorthanded goal.
It was a shorthanded goal.
And
One of my favorite things
goal
I've
of the
seen.
year.
His first goal of the entire year. He hasn't scored yet for Vasho this season. So, yeah, his first goal, not just in the World Juniors, but in the entire season. Absolutely fantastic stuff to see from him. I love Victor Kronborg just because his name is so hard to pronounce, and everyone in all the announcers are calling him Sternborg, and I know it's not right. So I'm not going to do that, but but it's still really cool to see Vic scoring in the World Juniors in such a massive moment as the team captain, leading them, beating their longtime rivals Finland. Sad to see them get knocked out by the Czechs, but still, really, really cool moment for him there. And then the other one is Team Canada. They obviously have Colton Dock, as we mentioned before, even though he's hurt now. But they also have Korchinski, Nolan Allen, Ethan Del Mastro, as well as Bedard and Fantilli, 2 guys who we could be taking in the draft.
Future Blackhawks.
Hopefully. If not, Leo Carlson had a fantastic tournament as well. He's going to be very good. So, Korchinski, Allen, Doc. Ethan Del Mastro is going to frustrate people for years. He reminds me of Nikita Zadorov in a way.
But Del Mastro's a little bit he plays on the edge, but I feel like he can control it more than how Zadorov was. Zadorov just went out there and wanted to punch someone, it felt like.
Yeah. I also think that with Del Mastro, he just looks like a hockey player. Like he has the missing tooth, and he's got the massive flow behind his head. It's just like this. He is like your prototypical third pairing defensive defenseman. He just looks like Radko if Radko Gudas was a Canadian.
Yeah.
But the reason I mentioned that is because Team Canada ended up beating the U.S. today. That was sad. They ended up winning 6-2. Some goal interference calls. Some goal interference calls. I probably wouldn't have called those goal interferences.
I would call the first one goalie interference, not the second one.
The second
one was not goalie interference.
The second one's just hockey.
None of them are goalie interference.
I can understand that too. Also, I'll say here's my question: if that was NHL rulebooks, is that goal interference?
No.
Either?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think either.
It's written in the the double IHF. It's a little bit more differently written than how the NHL is, and it felt like how the first one was more goalie interference than the second time.
Yeah, the second one was just them pushing the puck in, it's just weird. But that's everything with the World Juniors. World Junior gold medal and bronze medal games are the 5th. First game, I believe, is at 1:30 Central, and the second game is at 5:30 Central or something along those lines.
Okay.
We will see what happens with our players. Will Team USA get a bronze medal? Will Victor Kronborg get a bronze medal as team captain? What about Del Mastro, Doc, Korchinski, Nolan Allen? We'll see there. Bedard Fantilli. Will Bedard continue to score more points? Will Fantilli continue to be fantastic as he was in this last game? A very good game.
Let's note the Czech versus Canada gold medal game's a rematch of the first game against each other in the tournament.
And that game, Canada did not look very good in that game.
They looked terrible. They didn't
yeah.
look like a team.
Important note there. Benjamin Gaudreau started. And Benjamin Gaudreau was probably the main reason why they lost that game. Thomas Milic has been out of his mind.
Yeah.
Out of his mind so far this tournament. So him versus Suhanek, who's the goalie for the Czechs. It's going to be a good matchup there. And, the Czechs also have some really good players. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Bedard versus Jiricek.
That's going to be a good
matchup.
AKA the player we should have gotten. Instead of Seth Jones.
Bedard versus Jiricek is going to be that battle. It's going to be just fantastic. I'm looking forward to that a lot. But with that, let's move on from World Juniors and move into Hawk-specific news and information. Starting off, a couple injuries that have happened as of late. It looks like Mackenzie Entwistle and Jujhar Khaira are both going to be heading to injured reserve. They weren't playing the last couple of games.
It was retroactive to the 25th, if I remember correctly.
I guess 27th or something like that.
Okay.
They
could be back this weekend.
Yeah. It's been like over a week, so there is time for them on IR to be, they're not going to be on IR for long, but they will be on IR for some time. In their places, the Hawks called up Brett Seney and Lucas Reichel.
Pain.
Yeah, I know John's not very happy about this because he was looking forward to watching Reichel play.
And Seney.
Yeah.
I'm going to the Iowa game. Or the first Iowa game.
Yeah. That's Saturday, right?
Yeah, Saturday. We play a back-to-back. So it's a Saturday game and a Sunday game.
Okay. Another injury to note, Arvid Soderblom got hurt for the Rockford IceHogs. This one was in one of the games.
So can I describe it?
This wasn't the first game that we are going to talk about. It was against Grand Rapids. John, what happened?
So it was the first period. It was probably not even 10 minutes in, and he leaves just suddenly. I didn't even see him leave. He got off the ice so quickly. And so we all thought it was we were praying to God it was a equipment malfunction that he just quickly went to the locker room for, and he never returned. And then they posted about the injury on their Twitter, I think, 5 days later.
I wonder if after they won tweet, I said, let's go, and how about an update on Soderblom? Because it happened the next day they posted about it.
Yeah, no. We've seen this with AHL and just hockey in general, especially with the Frank Nazar stuff as well. Oh God, are we ever going to hear from the University of Michigan about what's going on with Frank Nazar?
Most likely not.
Probably, but we'll probably just find out that he's back now, and that'll be
he's in the lineup, and then find out.
It'll be some random game in March, and it'll be like, oh look, Frank's back.
Yeah,
that's what happened with Vlasic.
Yes, and that's the next point. Alex Vlasic is back way ahead of schedule. He was supposed to be out for 6 weeks with a leg fracture. However, it looks like it's going to be close to 3. And Nick, I think you have some personal experience that you can share on the topic.
Well, last year and going into the week before Thanksgiving, I was playing hockey and I broke my leg. And I was supposed to probably be out for about 6 to 8 weeks. After the surgery went through, I ended up being down for 2 weeks, and I wasn't able to get back on the ice until after, because I'm not a professional at playing hockey. I play beer league. But yeah, I don't know if it was the fact he was able to heal up pretty quick, or it was the fact that he had a surgery or that caused where he didn't have as much damage as what could be causing. If it was lower leg injury, if it was a higher leg injury, if it was a lower one, he could have damaged more nerves, because that's what I was they were worried about me if I tore anything. And that's basically something, maybe if he didn't tear anything, it caused him to have a quicker heal time.
Yeah. I think that's probably the case. It could have been something where it was like a clean break, so it fused back together quite easily. And then, look, he's back way ahead of schedule. Hopefully, he's not rushed back. Obviously, we don't need to rush him back for any situation.
He was playing decently before.
We have guys, but I've loved what I've seen from Alex Vlasic so far this year.
Less playing time for Adam Clendening.
Hey, Adam Clendening had a really good assist this week.
I don't care.
He did have that going for himself, but
that was a really nice assist.
People.
For everything good he does, there's like 50 things he does not good.
It does seem like Clendening, though, does like to punch people in the face.
That's all he's here for.
It's just a reunion tour. Like, hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the Blackhawks organization on an AHL contract. Cool. You're here. You're here, I guess. Okay. And with that, let's move into some news around the Hawks and involving the NHL team as well. And I want to start with a this
here
was
we go.
fun. Okay.
Our discussion on the show.
Let's start here. So yesterday, the Detroit Red Wings placed Jakub Vrana on waivers.
Mm-hmm.
And he went unclaimed by the entire NHL.
Okay.
And I am just floored. Okay, so the whole situation is essentially the Red Wings have they're full of roster spots. So they didn't want to send anyone else down on their roster. They didn't want to. Then they also had some cap things, I guess, as well. Tyler Bertuzzi's coming back for them. Robbie Fabry's coming back for them. So they're bringing those guys back. And they decided to send down Jakub Vrana because he's coming back from a player assistance program. He's been playing in the AHL as of late, I think. And
he actually ran past me.
He was trying to work his way back. You did mention that. Like about a week ago that Jakub Vrana was at the stadium. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's probably back, just playing now that he's back, just getting ready.
I was just standing in the club lounge, and we usually have players run through the club lounge, especially away players, if they're just like running around the stadium to get like warmed up, and he just ran past me.
It was like, oh my god, that's Jakub Vrana.
I actually really like Vrana too. Like he's one of my favorite non-Blackhawks.
Yeah, and so he ends up on waivers, and the entire hockey world is kind of shocked. And then no one claims him. And I have a problem with this. And unfortunately, the biggest issue is that I know that our counterpoint is not here right now because Wally was our biggest counterpoint on this.
Uh-huh.
So I know the arguments for why you don't claim Jakub Vrana. They stem from he makes a lot of money and the Hawks seem to take on bad contracts. And John's camera's off, but that doesn't matter. Here's my issue. My issue with that is that the Blackhawks have one massive issue that I would say overshadows every other issue with the team. This team has plenty of problems, but I would say they have one issue that overshadows all of them. And that issue stems from the fact that they have nobody on their team who is a shoot-first player. Does everyone else kind of feel that way?
Yeah, that's a true
everyone.
statement.
Does anyone else – can you think of a single player on this Blackhawks roster right now who you would consider a shoot-first guy?
Kane used to be a shoot-first guy. Now he's a pass-first guy.
Yeah, but he hasn't been a shoot-first.
Right.
He hasn't been a shoot-first guy since he won his last cup.
I'm just pointing it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Simply.
But I don't think there's anyone.
I would put Radish up there. He does tend to have more of a shooting mentality.
So. Mm-hmm.
Like Domi isn't. Domi's the farthest player from a from a shoot first player.
You could argue Athanasiou, but even then, when he shoots, it usually doesn't hit the target.
It's usually 5 feet away from the goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
So, along with all those things, along with all that, the reason I say that is because at 5v5 this season, the Blackhawks have scored 46 goals. Those 46 goals came from 57.41 expected goals. So that is that the Hawks have scored 11 less goals than they were expected to. Between the 2019-20 and the 2021-22 seasons, so the last 3 years before this one, Jakub Vrana scored 46 5v5 goals, and that came on 24.84 individual expected goals off his own stick.
Mm-hmm.
So what that's showing me is that this is a guy who can make stuff out of nothing, and he will outperform his expected goals because he's a better shooter than league average, because he is a natural goal scorer.
Yeah.
We have enough cap space to accommodate him, and we have injuries, and we're moving out big money either this summer or the trade deadline.
Yeah.
It's a 2-year contract this year and next. Frankly, I don't really see the reason why Jakub Vrana can't be on the Chicago Blackhawks for free.
I do have a question for you. Regarding Vrana.
Mm-hmm.
So, this cliche is used all the time. This isn't a video game. What if there's something behaviorally that is going on with Vrana that has caused him to be sent down? Because here's the thing. I thought they're going to send down Adam Ernie, who's, I think we can all agree, that is far worse than Jakub Vrana.
Their performance levels last year are not comparable at all.
So there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason behaviorally that he was sent down. Maybe it has to do something about the behavior, the player assistance program. We don't know, but I think, like, if Vrana doesn't have those potential behavioral problems, then I would have been all for it. But with that in the equation, I'm kind of 50-50 on it.
See, the only thing I would say with that is the player assistance program isn't necessarily about players just like being bad people or something. Like, and even then, the NHL historically has not had a problem picking bad people to win hockey games. Mm-hmm. It's just that if that player is on waivers, they just won't, unless they're claiming from the Toronto Maple Leafs. If the player is coming from the Toronto Maple Leafs, they will claim them. But if they're coming from any other team, they just refuse to.
I wonder if it's a GM to GM type of agreement sometimes when it comes to not claiming a player off it. Like, they throw the player on waivers and you don't claim him because you know you're going to have to do business with the other GM at other points to not tick off the GM.
And I
there's got to be something going on that we don't know about, and we probably will never know about.
Probably, but at the same time, it just seems like it just doesn't feel right that a player of Jakub Vrana's quality ends up on waivers, and absolutely every single team just says no to them. Like, I understand teams who don't have the cap space.
Yeah.
Like, if you're Toronto, if you're Tampa, okay, fine. You can't afford the guy. Duh. But if you're Chicago, if you're Arizona, if you're any team at the bottom of the league who has a hole, a very specific hole in the fact that you don't have scoring on your roster.
You're the worst scoring roster in the NHL.
Like
one of the worst offensive, one of the least offensive teams I've ever seen in the sports history.
I mean, it is true. This team is bad.
This team is historically bad at scoring goals.
Yeah.
And a guy is put on waivers at a $5.25 million cap hit. And the reason you say no is because of that cap hit even though it's a fair contract and he's definitely not even close to. I wouldn't say that Jakub Vrana's overpaid. This guy put up like.
You also have to factor in the injuries too. He's always injured.
He's had injuries over the past year or two. I
Like
don't.
what was his? How many games did he play last season?
He played.
Like
I think
26?
he played 26 games last year. In those games, he had 19 points though. Like I'd pay
produces.
I would pay $5.25 million.
But the thing is, though, he's always injured, so availability is the best ability.
Yeah, I would say so as well. But at the same time, it's a 2-year contract. It's not like we're locked into this for 8 years and we're putting a massive risk on it.
I'm not arguing against claiming him, but I do know the reasons why.
Yeah, I see.
I understand
too.
it. I
see them too.
Now, not claiming Eli Tolvanen, that is inexcusable.
That was you have sacrilege. They should have gone out.
That one was bad.
That one's bad.
There's a couple reasons why that one's bad. One, why wouldn't you want to harm the Predators?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to make them worse?
I can't make any.
He fell to Seattle.
How did he fall that low to Seattle?
I don't understand that. He fell all the way to Seattle.
I can give excuses for not claiming Vrana. I cannot give any excuses for not claiming Eli Tolvanen.
That's
you should have picked him up.
Management. If you have
to pick up
see a player on waivers that's young,
he was a first round pick too.
Tolvanen,
he was a first round pick too.
And exactly a first round pick, like Tolvanen. You claim the guy.
Okay. And on top of that, remember what we did with Matthias Janmark. Remember the Matthias Janmark situation. That guy came to us as basically a fringe third liner who was basically a fourth liner on the Dallas Stars when they went all the way to the Cup Finals in the bubble. He came to us. We gave him second line ice time. We also gave him power play time, and he scored a ton of goals. Didn't actually play all that well, but he scored a lot of goals, had massively inflated trade value, and then we traded him to Vegas for a second and a third round pick, way above his trade value. Those two picks, by the way, one of them I believe is Samuel Savoie.
Yep, I love Sammy.
I love Samuel Savoie, and I believe the other one was Ryan Green.
Yes.
So you got Ryan Green and Samuel Savoie for a fraud.
He's not even on Vegas anymore. He's on.
I'll put it simply. You got Ryan Green and Samuel Savoie for a fraud 30 goal scorer at a fraud 30 goal scoring pace. Why wouldn't you want guys who are naturally shoot first players to try and inflate their trade value, and on top of that, inflate Kane's trade value?
Well,
inflate.
I don't think
CU's trade value.
Would you even?
I
don't think you even. Like if we did pick up Eli Tolvanen, I wouldn't even want to trade him because he's young still, 23, right? 22.
Yeah, I mean he is young, but at the same time, you wouldn't trade him this year because there are concerns that if you do, then he could there's waiver things with other teams that claim him. But we know other teams claimed him because Seattle did, but. If you wait a year, that's all gone. He's got 1 year after this year on his contract. You can pick him up, or you can have him for that year. He's a guy who can score goals for you, or at least just shoot the puck.
Yeah.
And if you shoot the puck, then you can get rebounds sometimes. You can bang in goals. You can score more than one goal a game.
Do we know what line he was playing on in Nashville? Because they seem not to do very well at developing.
They were barely playing him. They'd basically given up on him at that point.
Yeah, they helped you
scratch. They can't develop prospects for crap.
They can't develop forward prospects. They can develop goalies and defensemen, but that's
it. Actually, you're right. My bad. They cannot develop forwards.
They developed Sam Girard. I love that one. I love that one so much. They traded Sam Girard for Kyle Turris.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That is.
And how many more years are left on that Turris buyout? Like 6?
Is it 8?
They gave him that. They gave him that contract too,
I think it was an 8-year buyout, and we're in the 3rd year of it.
And they gave him that contract too, right?
I think they didn't inherit that. I think they gave him that contract.
They didn't
They
inherit it, right?
They
Yeah,
did give Torres that
I think
contract.
they bought out the last 4 years of his contract, which is why it was an 8-year buyout.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got 6 years left. Oh man, hockey. All right. Anyways, and with that,
Get to the
and the reason
Hawks.
I wanted to put that out there because I also wanted to just say, along with some of the other things that are happening, especially with like Dylan Strome, Dominic Kubalik, it just feels like it feels like we're not taking advantage of our. It feels like we're not taking advantage of our asset management possibilities.
Yeah.
Especially
I get not signing Kubalik. I do get
like
that
I
one.
think
He was not playing well.
He wasn't playing well, but do you think that like someone would give you like a pick for him, or do you think
Possibly? That wouldn't be anything crazy though. Like maybe a
probably
third at best, possibly.
I'd take a third.
You
take a third over nothing, right? But I don't think
take
it
a
would be
third over
anything.
nothing.
I get them not signing him to whatever contract he got with Detroit. Now I do not get not signing Dylan Strome. I would have signed Dylan Strome.
I wouldn't. I'm saying this. I wouldn't have wanted Dylan Strome back. But my problem wasn't Dylan Strome not being on this roster. My problem was not qualifying him and not even like trying to trade him. Because you look at the contract
that is a problem too.
The contract that he got in Washington to basically be their replacement for Nick Backstrom, who probably is LTIR for the next like 5 years. The contract they gave him was $100K less than his qualifying offer.
Yeah.
So what that shows me is basically that Kyle Davidson believed other teams when they lied to him.
Yes. And here's the thing. I think we are starting to get a picture with Davidson on asset management now and how poor it's been when it comes to calling up players at times of need
or sending them down.
Or shut up, John. You caught me off guard.
I'm just pointing it out. Just sending them down.
I feel like Davidson has a poor asset management attribute a little bit right now because there's players in Rockford who's performing. They finally got called up because we have Kane get injured. Tyler Johnson is sick. Okay. We also have Entwistle and Kara on the IR. The fact was, Entwistle and Kara has been injured for the last week. They could have called someone up in the last week. They haven't until they retroactive them to IR, and Kane has a knee injury, and Tyler Johnson is sick.
Mm-hmm. And I want to make this clear. I will let you ask your question, but I just want to make this clear as well. Although I think that he played well yesterday, we have to acknowledge that when we are nowhere near the cap ceiling, we were somehow forced to place Caleb Jones as a winger yesterday. I didn't even think that he did all that bad, but that's not the point.
Honestly, I think Caleb Jones is a better winger than he is a defenseman.
I thought he forechecked really well, but that's not the point.
Smart.
That's not the point. The point is, why the heck wouldn't we have just put Kara and Entwistle on IR at that point? Why do we wait so long?
It's poor asset management at that point.
It is.
Okay, can I ask this question now?
Yes.
I said it yesterday. I just want to bring it up again. This point's gonna get debunked quickly because what I brought up, I brought it up again along with the point. But do you think that possibly Kyle Davidson sees the potential with the Rockford team? Now this will get rebutted since the Arvid Soderboom situation happened. But do you think that's a possibility? Just a tiny bit.
Can I rephrase your question for you before I answer it?
Sure.
Do you think is your question? Do you think that Kyle Davidson values a Calder Cup trophy more than any success in the Hawks this year?
Essentially,
I do. I think that winning the Calder Cup would be fantastic. I would probably celebrate winning the Calder Cup more than anything else that this franchise has done since the last Stanley Cup.
But again, that point is illogical because of what happened with Arvid Soderblom.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Or because maybe not illogical, but like it doesn't have a lot of merit.
I mean, the other thing is like we always said like we would love for them to bring in a goalie. It is worth mentioning. I don't think that I remember seeing like any goalies on waivers between like the time Soderblom was called up and he was sent down.
But you can just sign one for like league minimum.
But anyone. You could sign anyone. Yeah, you could try anything.
Like I wouldn't even like give them as much money as you want. I don't care. Just sign someone. But now Soderblom's injured for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We'll start to see how the scoring goes now with Reichel and Senes now in Chicago.
I hope they put them on the same line because they already have that chemistry. So they better put them on the same line.
I would love to see. I would love to see how it goes. I don't know necessarily if you want them on the same line because I think what you want to do is you want to give Reichel genuine top 6 minutes going forward. I don't know if Cini is a top 6 player in the NHL. Moving to a couple more notes before we head into a couple game recaps. Some notes on the most recent 32 thoughts. First one, Max Domi. Nick, what has been said?
I believe it was Merrick who said it on the 32 Thoughts during the Sportsnet broadcast when it was like on Hockey Night in Canada. He mentioned how Max Domi is finding a home in Chicago, and it could be the fact that the Hawks and Domi could be leading to a fact where he ends up signing a contract extension with the team. If that does happen, I wouldn't be against it. Domi's played well with the Hawks. If he feels comfortable in staying with the Blackhawks through a rebuild, I would be okay with it. If, for instance, he does get traded, it will be later on this year, but they did not talk about a trade. They mainly talked that he's looking for a home in Chicago.
Yeah, and I think that he sees how I view this comparably to what Nazem Kadri was for Toronto.
Yeah.
From like 2014 to 2017.
I kind of agree.
Like, he was the 1C, letting the other guys coming into their role. Then Matthews took over him. Then they signed Tavares and he took over him. And Kadri was the 3C now, and he was a really good 3C for them. Ended up trading him. Obviously, he went to Colorado, had a points explosion, and was their second line center when they won a cup. But he started out first line center for a bad rebuilding team, drops him slightly down the lineup as other people surpass him because those are the guys who are supposed to surpass him. And I think that Domi sees he could be that here. And I would love it.
Do you see Domi as a long term, if he does sign a contract, a long term center one?
No.
You think he could do that?
I could see him being our first line center for maybe 1.5 more seasons before prospects overtake him. I think that the way people view Domi now and the way people viewed Kadri in 2015, 2014 are not all too dissimilar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that we look at Kadri and Domi. They were both like guys who were drafted around the 10th overall pick. You know, they're talented players. They've always been seen as talented players. I don't think that it's like I'm not talking about Kadri once he left Toronto and went to Colorado.
Right.
I'm talking more about what he was in Toronto, starting as a 1C, then moving slowly down the lineup, and then becoming a very, very good 3C. I think that is a role for Domi possibly in like the year 2026.
Mm-hmm. I could see
depending on who overtakes him. You know, let's say you've got Adam Fantilli and Macklin Celebrini.
You don't even give us Bedard in this fantasy? How dare you?
I can't be over idealistic.
Yeah.
No, be over idealistic. We're getting Bedard.
That's how rebuilds work. You have to be ridiculously unrealistic and idealistic in order to convince yourself that what you're doing is right.
You can't get cocky and think you already have the first overall pick, even though you're the 32nd.
We have the first overall pick.
Even though you're the worst team in the league. Yep. Yeah, no. I mean, to be fair, we did see Connor Bedard celebrate with the Heartbreaker.
Yeah,
he did do that,
he wants
but
to
He
come.
celebrated the Heartbreaker.
He clearly wants to come here.
He wants to play with Kaner.
He will pull
let's just talk about it. Let's just say it like that.
He will pull a Eric Lindros.
And he will force a trade to the Blackhawks. That's funny. All right. And the other big piece of news is about Jake McCabe. It appears that there's been rumors that the Oilers are looking at him as a potential trade target.
Yeah, I saw that with that 32 thought moment from Freeman and Merrick on Sportsnet, but they got him more involved onto the topic, and honestly, I don't think there's any interest in moving McCabe at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade McCabe. Jake McCabe has been our best player the entire season.
Yeah,
and he has been absolutely, and he's been the biggest reason why Seth Jones's play has improved over the last 3 weeks because now they're playing together.
Yeah.
Now, will you throw something if he is traded?
If the return is terrible.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the return. If we're not, I mean, like, I think he's worth 2 seconds now.
Yeah.
So if we get 2 seconds, you'll be fine.
I mean,
I'd be okay.
If he does go to Edmonton, we do know Ken Holland is not good at making smart trades.
We know.
Why would he want to go to Edmonton? Though?
We know what happened the last time that Ken Holland traded 2 seconds for a player that's currently on the Blackhawks roster.
Yeah.
AA. Let's get into the first game that the Hawks played this week. First game was against the St. Louis Blues, and surprisingly enough, this was the only game this week where the Hawks did not score first, and yet we have no points to show for it. The rest of the scoring, Taze ended up having a really good screen out in front of the power play, and Kane just put a really nice wrister past Jordan Binnington. That ended up tying the game at 1. But then, so the goal scorer on this play was Callie Rosen. Does that matter?
He gets a big assist by Blackhawks.
Boris Kachuk.
This is like Buddy Robinson. This is like Buddy Robinson slander this offseason times like 10 for Nick.
And like Buddy Robinson's been all. I think he
has 9 goals.
I think
he's 9 goals.
I think we overblew the Buddy Robinson thing. He was never going to play for the Hawks.
Yeah,
he's got 9 goals this year. I'm not too upset with how he's playing.
Cool. His game works better in the AHL than it does for an NHL team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that was. I mean, it's rare when you see like all the Hawks reporters just saying, "Yeah, I've got no clue what he was trying to do there."
Yeah,
just threw. He was behind his own net and he just threw a puck up the middle of the ice.
It was a blind no-look pass right to the slot to a Blues player. Did he think the Blues were his team?
When in doubt, send it up the boards in your own defensive zone.
The fact was, people were even questioning why is Boris Kachuk playing this day anyway.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, Entwistle and Kara weren't injured. Well, Kara might have.
I think they might have been. I think they both might have been hurt this time, actually.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. You still don't. Honestly, at this point, Kachuk is more of an AHL player than he should be in the NHL.
Mm-hmm. This is why I said earlier that Kyle Davidson cares more about a Calder Cup than any success in the NHL is because of Boris Kachuk's performance this year.
I get
Any
you
other
say
GM
that,
would have set him
but
down.
I get you say that, John, but Davidson's not the GM of the Rockford IceHogs.
But he
But he
is the
brings-
GM of the
he-
Hawks, and he
but he
could
brings
and he
up all
can
these
decide to
people.
get rid of him.
Yeah, he
He
can
is the
decide
GM
to
of
get
the
rid of
Hawks,
him.
and he can decide to get rid of him, and he hasn't.
Yeah.
So
I-
if you don't take into consideration the whole Soderblom debacle, which we all agree was a debacle,
It was wild.
it's clear that the IceHogs are more important than the Blackhawks this year.
Mm-hmm. That's why.
Now you bring in the Soderblom.
That's why they get the logo first.
Well, I think it's mainly because of how the logos kind of face.
Let's just call it that way. Hawks lose against St. Louis, and everyone's mad because they can't beat St. Louis. And St. Louis is not doing well this year, but
weren't they wearing their ugly jerseys too?
Yes,
they were. Yeah,
Maybe
they
that's
were.
why Boris Kachuk made that terrible pass. He was blinded by the jerseys.
The ugly
Cool.
Yellow.
Yeah. All right.
Yellow
the next
jersey
game,
should not be a thing.
The next game was against Columbus, and I want to start this by just saying a post-game quote by head coach Luke Richardson. This is paraphrased, but he said that this was our worst performance of the entire year. If you've seen the rest of our podcasts, and if you've seen all the rest of our podcasts, and if you've seen everything that we've said so far about the entire year, and the fact this is a last place team, for this to be the worst game of the year in the head coach's eyes says a lot.
Because we've seen a lot of games very similar to this one, but frankly, I would agree with Luke about the statement saying it was the worst performance of the year because no one gave any effort.
And quality of competition.
The worst effort I've seen by the Chicago Blackhawks I've watched all season. It was frustrating. They had no life, and they couldn't get anything going.
Okay, wait, hold on. Didn't we have a 7-0 game? Or am I thinking of a different?
We lost 7-1 one time, but even then, for me,
there was a little bit more life with the team at that point.
The difference is the quality of competition.
Yeah,
that's true. Because obviously goals aren't everything. There's like a whole bunch of other stuff that happens. But that's again, I didn't even know he said that, so that says a lot.
Yeah, and so the way the game went, Athanasiou scores the opening goal, and that is the first of 3 games in a row that is still consistent actually up to this date, because it could happen the next game as well, where Hawks score the first goal.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter anyways. They end up giving up a goal. Columbus ends up 2-1 just before the end of the second period. And then Kirill Marchenko scores with 3 seconds left in the second period. And I don't think I turned this game back on after that. I said right there, this game is over. They gave up right before the end of the period. They couldn't finish a period. And I'm like, I am not watching this third period.
Yeah, I watched the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
It was frustrating.
All of our goals were within the last, or all the goals we allowed were within the last 2. No, except for 1. 3 of the 4 were within the last 2 minutes. That's not good.
Yeah,
that's not a good way to end.
One of those was an empty netter, so
empty net shorthanded goal.
Empty net shorthanded 6-on-4.
What happened? That happens again later on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. But yeah, so ends up with a loss 4-1 to Columbus. And yeah, this was the worst performance of the year, according to our head coach. And
I don't blame them for saying it. It was. Mm-hmm. It frankly was. They had no life except for the few F-bombs from Alex Stalock that got caught on the hot mic, but
I think I did hear those as well. That was good.
Still, it's the fact that the team had 0 life that night. They seemed like they just did not care. I get it's an early game, but wake up and smell the roses. do something and play hockey. Don't look like a disgrace to the sport every night.
That's the third time. That's the third time this year.
It's disgrace to hockey. Disgrace to hockey, yeah. And like this wasn't even like, I mean, it was an early game, but it wasn't a second half of the back-to-back. It was actually the first of a back-to-back.
In the second one, they looked better in.
They did look better in it. Let's head right into that. Hawks take a 2-0 lead in this game. Oh my God! Who knew you were allowed to win a game by lead a game by 2 or more goals? And this
the Hawks can score 2. Honestly, who knew the Hawks could score 2
in a row? Also, by the way, in a row.
Like they were so the goals were scored by Kane and Lafferty. And Lafferty scored 4 goals this year. 3 of them were against the Sharks.
2 being
only one of them was at even strength.
Yeah.
But
Tyler, you might want to go through the Kane goal.
Yeah, no, that Kane goal was fun.
You take the floor.
Okay, so Nick and I were both talking about this because we had a live stream when the game was over.
Yep.
We talked during intermission breaks as well. But when that Kane goal was scored, we were talking to each other and we were like, does Kakkonen know goalies are allowed to play with broken sticks?
Yeah.
Here's why. So Kakkonen goes to retrieve a dump in behind his own net.
Yep.
In the process, it's something involving his skate or like his stick gets caught somewhere and it like snaps.
I think it got caught in the dasher a little bit.
Yeah, it snaps. You have the long, thin part of a goalie stick and then you have the flat part of a goalie stick. It snaps right in half at that exact spot. And he drops it, which is what you do if you're a skater.
Yeah.
Kaapo Kakkonen's not a skater, he's a goalie. And if you're an NHL goalie, you should know that you are allowed to play with a broken stick.
Yeah.
You should know that you're allowed to do that.
Got back in the net.
So after that, he's facing a rush chance from Patrick Kane, and he decides that his best way to handle his best solution to handle, and it's so funny, his best solution to handle the fact that he has no stick is to put his blocker between his legs and completely expose the one hole above his shoulder.
Yep. If we were allowed to show the video footage on video, we would. But due to copyright reasons, we cannot.
But it is just glorious. It just picture a goalie standing without his stick, and he's putting his blocker between his legs, and Patrick Kane, a Hall of Famer with over 400 goals, puts it right above his shoulder where his blocker should be. Because
he probably makes that save if his blocker was there.
He does. I would also say that Kane probably doesn't take that shot there if, he's acting like a normal goalie.
Yeah.
Which, again, all starts because he breaks his stick and he is unaware that he is allowed to play with a broken stick.
It's got to be hard, though, to hold it with just the paddle.
It was nowhere close to the only weird goal of that night.
Yeah.
All the goals were...
were weird.
Uh-huh.
One should not count, in my opinion.
Yeah. The Lafferty goal was... that one went off his skate as well. That Lafferty goal went off.
That did, but you can tell Laffy really didn't have it going like more kicking motion.
It was certainly not a kicking motion. It was certainly just him stopping. That one was not a kicking motion.
A cousin of one of the
next
Blackhawks.
One.
Yes.
Mark-Edouard Vlasic, longtime NHLer and cousin of Alex Vlasic, had a play where a cross-crease pass ends up going off of his skate, and it looks sort of like a kicking motion because it looks like he turns his heel into the puck.
Yeah.
In a way. They end up calling it for just being a redirection, and with that, that was the second goal that San Jose scored. There were no goals in the first period. Yes.
The refs on the ice originally called no goal on that Vlasic.
They did. Yeah, they did call no goal. They ended up changing it to a goal. Now, the thing with that is, that was the second goal that they scored. There were no goals scored in the first period. There ended up being 5 goals scored in the second period. And with that, the first goal that San Jose scored was a very weird one as well, because it kind of just went and like deflected off some things and then kind of just like rainbowed over Mrazek's head and into the net. It's a very weird goal that was scored there. The entire period was just kind of wacky.
Yeah, it was not normal hockey.
Yeah, and then the third goal that San Jose scored in that period was also kind of weird because it was a save Mrazek definitely should have made off of just a backhand that really should not have squeaked through him.
If Stalock was in net, he would have made a save.
I personally believe that to be the case.
Yeah.
And the third period just kind of got away from the Hawks. They never showed really any fight, and they lose 5-2. And that's the Hawks' 4th straight loss after Carolina, St. Louis, and the game against Columbus, and now San Jose. In those 4 games, they're scoring 1 goal a game. I don't think that's anywhere close to the first time I've said that on this podcast.
We had wasn't our whole discussion about how this team can't score?
How many multi-game stretches over the year are we going to have where we average 1 goal a game?
Well, probably we scored 2 in that San Jose game. So
yeah, but we got shut out against
broke the streak.
We got shut out against Carolina.
That's true.
So that's 1 goal a game across 4 games.
That's true. Okay, never mind.
It's probably going to be another 30 times this year.
Yeah. All right, and now we move into the Tampa game, and I was
Tyler,
at this
take
game.
this floor.
I was at this game.
More Tyler.
I was at this game. It was a very enjoyable game. I was there to watch one player play hockey, and that was number 38, Brandon Hagel. The only reason I wanted to be there to watch that guy play hockey again. No, they did not have a tribute for him.
What is
very disappointing?
What is with the team this year? Usually when it's a fan favorite player, they get a tribute.
I know he was only here for a year and a half.
A simple video would have been nice.
Or at least just a knowledge on the scoreboard. Welcome back to Chicago, Brandon Hagel.
There were cheers when Hagel. Oh, is it so? In the pregame intros, everyone got booed for the Lightning in the starting lineup, except there was a really good cheer for Brandon Hagel when his name was announced.
It did
mostly fueled by me.
The thing was, Hagel was a fan favorite.
Love the kid.
He was beloved. The bagel was the thing last year.
I will say for the IceHogs, whenever there's a former IceHog, there's usually a pretty loud cheer. Except for Cale Morris. There was not a loud cheer for Cale Morris. There was actually a lot of boos for Cale Morris.
And a lot of you suck Cale Morris's after a lot of goals happened that night.
There was a loud cheer for Tanner Kiro. There was a pretty big cheer for Ryan Carpenter.
Carp.
He plays for the Wolfpack.
I forgot.
Carpy, I don't even remember. Did Carpy ever play for Rockford?
No,
but there was a loud cheer for him.
Oh.
There was a loud cheer for him.
Yeah. But yeah. So I don't understand why there wasn't like anything acknowledging Brandon Hagel for the game.
Just a simple image would have been nice.
It was the first game for him back in Chicago since he got traded.
Yeah.
It's a very disappointing thing to happen. And, I like the majority of what the new heads of the team are doing. Danny and Jamie Faulkner, I like a lot of what they're doing. You gotta acknowledge the people who used to play for this team.
Or a legendary person who was in your booth for almost 18 years.
It's a frustrating situation to happen because it almost feels like they want to just. I mean, rebuild doesn't mean forget the past.
No, it doesn't. It means you did this to yourself. You need to fix it, but acknowledge the people who were beloved in the franchise and city.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
I'm going to keep note. If I'm going to the game when Ottawa comes to town, I'm going to take note. If the Hawks don't do anything for Alex DeBrincat, they're a sacrilege thing, and there's an issue with the franchise. And again, I'm saying it. It's a disgrace to the It's a disgrace to the fans.
It's a disgrace to
four
fans.
times.
Absolutely. No, I 100% agree there.
I agree.
If there is no
arguments.
tribute, if there is no tribute for Alex DeBrincat, it's a disgrace to the fans. It's a disgrace to Alex DeBrincat himself, and frankly, it's a disgrace to Kevin Korchinski.
Yeah.
Oh, Tyler. This dude over here, man. This dude.
I think. Let's just note, Hagel did make the Hawks pay in this game.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I want to start with a couple of pregame notes. Tyler Johnson was a late scratch. He was on the ice for warm-ups. I can confirm he was on the ice for warm-ups.
Yeah. What sucks, Johnson's yet to play against Tampa Bay since getting traded to the Hawks.
Yeah, he hasn't played for them yet. And, he would probably get a really good, ovation from Tampa, if we go to Tampa.
Yeah.
He won a cup. He won a cup with them, right?
He'll probably get a massive tribute there because, they know how to respect their former players.
They did it for Ryan McDonough.
The fans know how to respect the former players, not the organization.
But along with that, because of Tyler Johnson's late scratch, they ended up going with 11-7. They didn't really go 11-7. Caleb Jones was playing wing the entire night.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
I said this already. I think he's better at wing than at defense.
I thought it was crazy. I was like, they should just
stick him in the fourth line.
Experiment with this more. I think we should just experiment with this more. I think he's a good skater. I think he has decent enough offensive instincts.
And he was able to
at fourth line.
His forechecking was pretty good. He has the defensive instincts by playing defense for years.
Experiment. Just experiment with him. Put him at fourth line wing.
He came rather close to scoring a goal early in the first period.
Yeah.
He had a really good chance.
The thing with Caleb, he has a good shot. He doesn't use it often enough. And I think maybe if they moved him to forward full time, he might be able to put up a good amount of points at this instead of playing him at defense where he can be a liability at points.
And he is putting up points.
He is.
He is putting up points with us. That's not been the issue for him. It's just that it seems like there's
liability at points.
There's errors he has errors in his game, which is the biggest thing. And I think that those errors are minimized when you are playing up higher up because there's someone back to take care of you.
Yeah.
Now, Brent Burns was a forward, right? He was drafted as a forward and moved to defense,
I think
right?
Brent Burns was actually drafted as a defenseman, was moved to forward, and then was moved back to defense.
And that's a similar situation with Dustin Byfuglien.
Yeah. Of course, Dustin Byfuglien was a little different because when he was with the Hawks playing as a forward, he was basically like, okay, you're big, you go bully people in front of the net.
Yeah.
Or just sit your butt up front of Roberto Luongo and cause chaos.
Yeah. It was so fun to watch. But with that, the game gets started early, and as we said before, Hawks first goal. They were fantastic to open this game. They were dominating play for the first 10 minutes, especially the first 5. Especially the first 5. They were dominating play. And it all culminates in a power play goal by who else but Seth Jones. And the
He
streak
does
is dead.
something.
The
He
streak
does
is dead.
something.
A
The streak is dead.
123 game drought from
Yes.
a defenseman scoring a power play goal.
Insane that you have
Can you say that?
things in.
Can you just say the amount of games one more time, please?
123.
Do you want to know? Let me give you a list of people who were Chicago Blackhawks the last time. I'll just say this out of my head. Let me just give you a list of people who were Chicago Blackhawks the last time a defenseman scored a power play goal for the Blackhawks. All right,
Keith.
Brandon Hagel, Duncan Keith, Adam Boquist, Nicholas Bodan, Malcolm Subban, Kirby Doc, Dominic Kubalik. Who else can we throw in there? Kevin Lankinen's in there. Basically anyone who played at the end of the 2020-21 season.
I'm trying to think a couple of them.
Ryan Carpenter.
Ryan Carpenter as well. Calvin DeHaan,
yeah.
We're doing this on top of
This team has changed so much in just a year and a half.
Pia Suter,
Kubalik,
DeBrincat and Kubalik.
I can't think of any more people. I was trying to think of more obscure people.
I think we've knocked it out for the most part.
We got the majority of them. David
Camper, yeah.
All right, but anyways, that's the whole point of that. The team has changed a lot, and in that time, the Blackhawks did not have a goal from a defenseman on the power play, and the last one to do it was Connor Murphy, who just doesn't play the power play.
No, and the last game that they did it was 2 power play goals by defensemen, Duncan Keith and Murphy that same game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now with that, Wyatt Kalynuk too.
Yep. And Colin Delia.
Oh, Colin Delia. Yeah, you existed.
Hey, no, what? No.
Hey,
no, Colin
he's
Delia
playing well
slander.
with
No, Colin.
He actually is.
No,
You know,
Colin Delia
respect
slander.
him.
I will not allow it.
Respect to him. We have more things to discuss when it comes to the Hawks. So they're playing really well, but about halfway through the first period, they end up getting a goal. And unfortunately, you can point the finger at Isaac Phillips partially for blame, but that's mostly because the main reason for that is just because, I'm sorry, you're just not as strong as Pat Maroon.
Yeah.
You just got bullied in front of the net, and easy tap in for Patrick Maroon because of that. And that's, unfortunate for the kid, but, hey, if you're playing at the NHL, you got to play against really strong players. You have to be physical at this level.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be fine.
He will, absolutely. He will. He'll learn
playing
from this.
well all season, every game he's played so far.
He's been playing well. I would still say that I think that maybe it is getting time to where we put him back in the AHL for a bit. I think you send him back down soon. I
think the reason why they haven't done it is just because there's an opening on the defense right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Tenorti being injured.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't they have Ian Mitchell up too?
And Mitchell's been playing well.
I would absolutely agree. I think Ian Mitchell has done very good since he finally got himself cast away from. Once he finally got himself cast off the healthy scratch list and was allowed to play games again, I thought he's done rather fine.
Rockford has a logjam at defense right now,
and part of that is because Isaac Phillips not there anymore.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, with everyone, including Phillips and Mitchell, we have a logjam. There's so many.
And I think that. You could look at guys who could come up soon for the Hawks and get some games. Guys like Galvis, Vlasic if he gets healthy. Philip Roos again could go back up for a bit.
Yeah.
All these guys are waiver exempt as well, which of course is important.
Yep.
And with that, let's move into the rest of this because it took a long time for Tampa to score their second goal and finally put the Hawks out of their misery. It took 2.5 full periods before they finally scored goal 2.
And the fact they were buzzing the entire second period is something to note. Hagel rang the pipe twice in that second period.
Oh my God, that one miss that he had.
Yeah.
That one miss, I saw that right in front of me. So I prefer, and I'm going to go on a little thing right here. Okay, so if you're watching a game at United Center, the best place to sit is behind either goal in the 200 level. It gets you at the right elevation, so you can see the play from like a good bird's eye view. And also, it's really, really nice to watch the whole play develop as you watch like all the players enter the zone, exit the zone. It's a really good angle. And I always love seeing that angle when they're on a power play. I've always thought that, I know some people don't like it. I always thought watching power plays from a behind the net angle was always really interesting. And in my view, it's the best place to sit in a hockey game.
Yeah.
And with that, I saw that one shot because there were times, we've seen with Alex Stalock before. He flails a lot.
He does.
He ends up in bad positions a lot. He was so far out of his net on that one. And when I saw the cross crease pass go to Hagel, and then he misses that, and I was just like stunned because I was like, oh my God, I came to a game to watch Brandon Hagel, and he misses that chance.
I'm gonna tell my kids that Alex Stalock was Dominic Hasek.
Hey, at least Stalock, he may get out of position quite a bit, but he's willing to go out and make a save. Mrazek, on the other hand,
nah.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it didn't matter because about halfway through the third period, there's a goal for Tampa, and it's Alex Killorn who scores. And then not soon after, he did it. I stood up and clapped. I stood up and clapped when Brandon Hagel scored. And I'm totally cool with that. This is the only game of the year where I'm genuinely happy the Hawks lost.
I would say this. The Hawks may have lost this game, but honestly, this was probably one of the best games the Hawks have played all season.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I mean, I don't
That
think
is true.
I think that they showed a lot of a lot of grit and determination. And this is kind of like if they were able to keep up that play in that first period throughout like the rest of the season, like that first period is basically what we remember from like the first 6 games of the year. Remember the first 6 games of the year?
Yeah.
When we have the same amount of wins in the first 6 games of the year as we have had the rest of the season?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Hagel scores. It's 3-1. That goal was on the power play, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
A
power play that Hagel drew because Patrick Kane high-stuck Hagel in the face.
Yeah, there was a high stick. It was a weird situation because I think that the Hawks were on a power play. And they were on a power play, and then they took the penalty, and then they went to 4-on-4. And, when you have players on Tampa with 4-on-4, obviously they're dangerous. I'm going to say this right now. I thought Victor Hedman was invisible last night.
I barely noticed him out there.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing him with the puck. I'm like, this guy is like doing nothing all game. I noticed Nick Perbix more.
Who?
I mean, the only time I noticed Victor Hedman out on the ice was Patrick Sharp making his comment about his goal against them in 2015's Cup Final when Hedman skated into Bishop and wide open net for Sharpie.
Oh, he brought that up yesterday?
Yep.
I still remember that so vividly.
Yeah.
I still remember that moment so vividly.
I felt like that Stanley Cup Final was the downfall of Ben Bishop and his injuries. Seems like he got injured at least.
But he did play really well when he was in Dallas.
He did.
Yeah, he did. But I'm just saying, like, injury-wise, it felt like I think he had 2 injuries that final, right? At least 2, right?
Something.
Yeah,
I think Vasilevsky played some games in the Cup final.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he did.
He played some games. I remember he played some minutes.
Okay, so it's not now, obviously, because Vasilevsky has established himself as one of the best goalies in the league. But like when it was announced that Vasi's playing, I was like, yes, we don't have to face Ben Bishop.
It's such a weird thing to think about these years later. It's such a weird thing to think about all these years later.
Think about it. At that time, Vasi was only 21 and he was a rookie.
He was drafted in 2012.
Yeah.
Really young for a goalie.
Yeah.
And if I knew any better at the time, I would have realized how dangerous he was.
Yeah, especially since the Hawks could have drafted him.
Tavo's cool.
Tavo's cool. But Carolina.
Tavo has a ring.
He does have a ring
with
the Hawks.
Considering how bad that draft was, we should not be looking back at that situation with any problems.
But we didn't get anything in return for Tavo.
Yeah, no, that trade was bad. And not only did we lose Teravainen, we also didn't even get the Bickle moment. Carolina got the Bickle moment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because we traded him in that deal, too.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. And with that, I think the most important piece of note worthy news to actually talk about is the fact that Patrick Kane did not play at all in the third period of this game. He ended up leaving the game early. And I've been told by Nick that there is plans for a report to come out and an update on him tomorrow.
Potentially, since the Hawks didn't have practice today, so no one was able to get any confirmation on what happened with what's going on with Kane. Everyone's basically saying Kaners should have an update tomorrow after practice, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. And with that is everything for this for this in terms of the game recaps. I want to point out one last stat before we head into players of the week. The Hawks before this week were 4-0-2 in games where they scored first, and the Hawks this week were 0-3-0 in games where they scored first. So the Hawks before this week had not lost a game in regulation where they scored first, and this week they lost 3 straight games scoring first.
Seems
in regulation. It's just fitting. Any narrative you come up with to try and explain this team, it dies instantly.
All you have to do with explaining this team, all you have to say, this is the worst Blackhawks team ever put on ice in their near 100-year existence.
All right, here's actually one. If you want to explain to someone this Blackhawks roster, just show them the highlight of Connor Bedard's overtime winner against Slovakia. That's all you have to do. Just show them that highlight of him scoring that goal, and that'll explain everything.
Yes. Or any Fantelli highlight in Michigan. He hasn't had many.
He had a really nice, and Fantilli had a really nice goal today against the US as well. It was a really nice goal.
So what you're saying is that we're the Czech team and Bedard is the rest of the NHL.
You mean Slovaks?
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I would say we're Austria, who just got relegated.
We are Austria. Austria got relegated today. Norway's coming up to next year's tournament. Good for them.
I like Norway. They always had some of my favorite international jerseys, and it's nice to see them have an opportunity in the World Juniors.
They're going to get clapped, though, too.
They could beat Latvia.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They could beat... And, of course, everything also depends on what happens with, like, the whole Russia situation. Like, maybe they get reinstated, whatever happens there. We're not sure. Obviously, nobody knows, especially with Belarus as well, because they've also been expelled from IIHF.
Yep.
And those are 2 teams that would definitely – at least Russia, yes. Belarus is probably also better than Norway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're about even, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit better.
Yeah. But with that, tangent aside, let's get into our Blackhawks Players of the Week. John, what have you got for Blackhawks Player of the Week?
I'm going to give it to someone that you probably don't expect, Seth Jones. Just simply because he scored that goal. Simply because I'll give him praise. We've trashed on him all year. I'll give him that praise.
Nick, what have you got for Blackhawks Player of the Week?
I kind of have two players I've been thinking of. I could think of Patrick Kane, but I'm not going with Kaner. I'm actually going with Caleb Jones. He actually played a solid few games, and getting an opportunity to see him play up at wing and playing well at it, I'm giving it to Caleb Jones.
Jones brothers.
Improvisation in a difficult moment, coming up clutch when we need him the most. Yep. I can't fault you there for saying that. Yeah, and then for me, I mean, the Hawks scored 4 goals this week. 2 of them were from Patrick Kane. I'll go with Kaner. I know he got hurt, and we ended up he ended up getting hurt towards the end of the game, but I'll give it to Patrick Kane. Yep. And now, for the next one, our favorite, and we're all allowed to have the same answer for this one.
Yeah.
Nick, start with you. The Blackhawks Tank Commander of the Week. If you guys don't know, obviously this team, to explain the Tank Commander of the Week in as simple as possible, who drove the tank and was the reason why we kept on dropping standings points this week. Who did it the best? Nick?
Number 14, Boris Kachuk.
What a giveaway. What a giveaway. That thing belongs in the Louvre.
That's probably his greatest pass of his career, but it went to the wrong
team. John, who have you got?
I'm not going to argue number 14, so I'm going to go with 14 as well.
And I will go with the refs that decided to call that goal for Marc-Edouard Vlasic. Thank you for contributing to the tank. That was not a goal, but you helped us a lot. All right, and with that is going to be it for the NHL section of the Hawkey PuckCast. We're going to take a quick little break, and when we get back, we are going to talk about Rockford and a couple of prospect things, and then we're going to head on out of here. So we will see you in a bit. All right, we are back, and let's get into this Rockford report. Brought to you by our very own Rockford IceHogs employee, John, who works with the team and sees these players all the time and lives in the city.
So Soderboom leaves early. That sucks. We already talked about that.
Yeah, that was the first game against the Grand Rapids Griffins. Ended up being a 4-1 win for the IceHogs. What happened in the rest of the game though?
So Jackson Stauber lets that one goal, the single goal in, and considering that he didn't since he barely took warm-ups, I consider this a good performance. He made 25 saves on 26 shots.
That's great.
Gus had a hat trick, and then who had the other goal?
I think it was
Lucas Reichel. Yeah, Reichel. So Reichel had a 3-point night. And then obviously we had Gus had his hat trick. We gave away free hats on that game, so a lot of people lost their hats.
Wait, hang on. You had a hat giveaway before that game.
Yes.
And then you had a hat trick.
Yes.
And then everyone threw those hats. That's amazing.
That's the way to do it.
Let me go get the hat because they're actually amazing.
Cool.
That is the way to do a hat trick. You
a
hat giveaway night.
It's a hat you get the same night for free, and you just say, "Goner."
Goodbye. I know there's been times where the Hawks have had giveaway hats, and they've had hat tricks that night. I remember Jonathan Toews had a hat trick, and they gave away hard helmets, and they threw those out onto the ice, and then that is the best.
Wait, hang on.
Are you kidding me?
What am I looking at?
It's like one of those Russian hats. I don't know what's called.
That is the
Oh my
best.
goodness.
I need that hat.
I wouldn't give that away for a hat trick.
Nor would I.
That thing is exceptional.
That is the best giveaway hat I've seen.
Is there more to it? Yeah, turn
It's
it
a
around.
Cousin
Turn
Eddie
it
hat
around.
for the IceHogs, but from Christmas Vacation.
Oh,
Yes.
that thing is glorious.
So my dad's a season ticket holder, and he actually threw his when he got the hat trick. And then I get home, and he's like, "Did you get my hat for me?" And I'm like, no, I didn't have enough time."
John, please explain. What do the IceHogs do with the hats they throw out onto the ice?
I actually have no idea. I
Really?
saw the ice crew collect them, and they had a big pile of them in the middle of the promo tunnel, which is where we send out the ice crew people, and then I never saw them again.
I think it would be for me if you just donate that to like a local Goodwill. That's cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
That's probably what they do.
hopefully
Or
they do
to
something.
any type of charity, just donate it to.
Hopefully they do something with them other than like just throwing
I
them
legit like, so we have like a curtain that we keep because we have a big mess behind the curtain. Like, how can I explain this? So like in the first half of the promo tunnel, it's just like no curtain, and then we have this big black curtain that covers the second half of it because we have a big mess behind there and we don't want people seeing it for whatever reason. And so they went behind there, and then I never saw them again.
Is there any talk they're bringing back these?
The Screw
Probably
Cities.
not.
Man,
I'm not. That's above my pay grade, so I have no idea. Anyways,
Alright.
so they gave away this hat, and then Gus had a hat trick.
Mhm.
Very nice.
And David Gus has been playing very well in the AHL this season.
Yeah, he has.
Now, and I want to get this point out of the way right now. Do we think that David Gust will have an NHL contract by the end of this season?
Hopefully.
Yes.
I hope so too. He's playing very well. I think he's earned it.
Okay, so now we have the Wolves game.
But yeah, they played against the Wolves, and this game a little bit different because all of us actually watched this one together.
Yes.
Yeah, this game was interesting. Team got down 2-0, and then they were also down 3-1. However, both times they were down, Buddy Robinson scored. He had a 2-goal night in himself.
Yeah.
Good game.
Buddy Robinson, legend.
He's a very good AHL player, and I think he's played very well for himself. Done very well. Then, midway through the third period. I think it was on a power play as well.
It was.
It was on a power play. So Clendening up at the top of the point. He sends a feed down low, like down the board, like near the boards on like the right side. Dylan Sekura, who shoots it high. Goalie was weirdly bad positioning by the goalie.
Definitely.
And I think the goalie that night was
it was here I got it.
Sachenko, Zach Sachenko.
You are correct.
Yes, it was Zach Sachenko. The goalie, weird positioning on that goal, and that ends up taking us to overtime. With a 3-3 tied game.
Yep.
I don't remember much in overtime.
Overtime, the IceHogs controlled play a little bit, and then the Wolves took over. But it goes to a shootout.
It goes to a shootout. It was a fun moment.
Fun shootout.
Fun shootout.
Really fun shootout.
Starts with Michael Tepley. Really nice goal. Let's go for Tap. I believe that one was forehand, backhand.
Yep.
Yeah, so they actually they found his what do you call they found the goalie's cell. So if you go forehand, backhand, and then the goalie sprawls down on his stomach and does the dirty bird, then you can just roof it. And then they did it twice in that same shootout, and it worked both times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was good. He was the first shooter for the Hogs. He scored round 1. Jack Drury for the Wolves, he scored in their second round of the shootout. No goals in the third round. So we end up going to a fourth round of the shootout. Cole Gutman scores for the Hogs. Pasha matches him. And then we get to Brett Seney.
Oh, this was fun. This was fun.
This was funny.
This is one of my favorite moments I've ever seen in a shootout. So Brett
I don't
Seney,
even think the Revs knew what the hell.
Go. Just what exactly was this, Nick?
So Zany goes up like a normal shootout. He shoots it. It goes off the backboard, off the glass, and banks in off of Shevchenko's back and into the net. They had determined goal, and then the Revs were like, wait, does that count? So they reviewed and looked and determined no goal. Everyone, we were doing this, watching together, and we all were saying, what just happened? It was like the most bizarre thing happened.
So it was fantastic. If you get the opportunity to go watch it, absolutely do. I think Cini just missed the shot wide. That's all it really was. However, it deflected off the board, hit Shevchenko in the back, went in the net. I think
it was a nice shot though. Like
it was like really funny. It was really.
It was like a rocket. It was a rocket of a shot.
You have to in order for it to redirect like that. I think the big thing there is, there's a rule with shootouts where you have to have forward progress staying forward. The puck has to consistently be staying forward. I think that might be the reason why it didn't count.
Yeah,
probably.
I think that is probably the reason why it didn't count, because that forward progress was not maintained on that thing. And also, I think that a sport where that would have counted is soccer. Because in soccer on a penalty shootout, I know that they don't have there's no area behind the goal that's in play. But in soccer, if a shot goes off a crossbar, and then if a penalty kick goes off a crossbar, and then it's never touched, and it kind of just because of the spin of the ball goes into the goal, that counts.
Yes.
So it's a slightly different situation, but in a different sport it would work. I think that maybe that's why the goal was originally called as a goal, and then they took it off because it's that's not how it works here in this sport.
The thing is, I know you can score a shootout goal if it rings off the pipe and then it hops off the goalie and in. That does count as a shootout goal.
That does count.
But the way this happened, Cini shoots it, misses the net completely, goes off the glass and back and hit Shevchenko's back and in. So I think that's where the gray line is at, even though, frankly, it's a similar situation. You're hitting the post, you're hitting the glass, you're getting a goal, in my opinion.
I like the optimism.
But when it hits the post, it still goes forward, right? This one went backwards.
It's still within the confines of the goal area, I would say.
I'm not arguing it shouldn't have counted. It should have counted.
You've crossed the red line. You've crossed the red line. The red line, the icing line. You've crossed the icing line in the other situation. And then, Cini's goal didn't count, which I was like, oh no, they're going to lose because of that. And I was, okay. But then Stauber stayed steady. He made the save. Phil comes up, scores, and then they take their last shot, and Stauber is there to deny it. And that's it. IceHogs win, and they've got 2 straight wins.
Yep.
And this one was in Chicago against the Wolves at the Allstate Arena. Now, next day, New Year's Eve, we head to Rockford. Same teams, but now the Rockford are at home. John, how'd this game go?
Oh, this game was really fun. I thought this game was going to be what it was going to be like in the first game, just complete and utter dominance by the Rockford IceHogs, since we are, in fact, better than the Wolves because they suck this year. Cooper Zek starts it off.
Wolves suck this year.
Somehow, the puck got into the net. It seemed like the puck had eyes for Cooper Zek's goal. Then Roos continues to play well with his 3rd goal in the AHL.
Yeah,
Cini continues.
Really nice shot by Roos there.
It was a good shot.
I would love to see Roos get called up. I would love to see him being part of the rotating cast of guys who get call-ups.
Yeah.
Massini continues dominance with 7 points, 2 goals, 5 assists in his last 5 games at that time. Gutman continues great play at that time with 4 points in his last 4 games. IceHogs honor Samuel, who is a 6-year-old cancer survivor. He played a game. He got to be on the bench during warm-ups. He won a prize in that game, in the intermission game, and then
that's cool.
They showed his story on the jumbotron.
Okay,
that's really cool. So like a massive ovation for it and everything.
And then Luke Philp brought him out for the first star of the game interview.
That's fantastic.
Regula shows off his shiftiness with a backhand goal.
And you said this before, how Regula's trying more things at the AHL level than NHL level.
Well, last year was. This year we kind of discussed that, like maybe the coach were saying settle it down a little bit. But he did it. He did it today, or he did it that game, and he scored on a backhand.
Nice.
Buddy Robinson scored his 9th goal of the year after Nick slandered him all off season.
I basically was saying how slow he is and shouldn't be in the NHL.
I'm kidding, Nick. I'm kidding. Weeks played well despite allowing 2 goals. I think it was.
And Weeks only got called up because of the whole Soderblom situation.
Yeah. So Weeks was, what was he? He was a 19 for 21. So only faced 21 shots. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
And then fireworks after the game in the arena.
Inside the arena.
Inside the arena.
Was the fire department called? You didn't? I asked.
No, we did not die. We did not die. I promise.
We did not die. We did not die.
We did have something really cool though. We had a flame launcher. It was absolutely fantastic, and I think we need to use it more often.
Flame launcher.
It's scary, skinny. It was
a box. It was a box, and they had like this control center thing, and the guy would push the button, and it would just act like a flamethrower.
You know what's funny about that? You know where you'd expect to see flamethrowers? A pregame show for the Chicago Wolves.
Yeah, because my coworkers have talked about this before. They say it gets really foggy during the game.
I love the pregame intro for the Wolves. I'm sorry.
They hate it. My coworkers hate it.
Years.
They think it's too smoky in the game.
How about
during the game?
Give this scary skinny hammy the flamethrower every game, because that thing is
still a fire hazard waiting to happen.
Okay, speaking of hammy,
just let him burn
there was like this little kid. He was probably like 2 years old, and he ran up to Hammy and gave him a hug last game.
That kid doesn't know what he's seen.
That thing is still messed up. I don't understand why they changed
it's so tortured.
I think it would have been fine if they kept the head. If they kept the head, it would have been okay. You know what?
To be fair, I did say that thing needs a hug. I think I did say on a podcast I think it needs a hug. So good on the kid for for taking one for the team.
Yeah.
I think if they kept the head, it would have been fine.
I think so too, honestly.
Okay, so now we go against the Stars. I'm really happy with this performance because the Stars, let me just double check. They are a top 2 team in the Western Conference.
And this is Anton Hudobin in net. Like, this is a guy that was playing in the Cup. This guy was starting consistently in the Cup final just 3 years ago.
So Luke Philp starts it off with his first goal since December 12th against Springfield. My narratives continue to be correct with DJ Buzzdecker scoring a goal.
Donald Buzzdecker, what a guy!
That was actually really a nice shot too. Again, by Buzzdecker, it was like really. It was like I just like his shot a lot.
And he has a great hockey name.
Hudobin probably should have saved that one though.
Probably should have.
It was like he just skated into the offensive zone and just.
It was like at the top of the circle.
Yeah, it was like at the top of the circle between the hash marks.
Yeah,
but it was like past. It was. He didn't even get to the hash marks yet, and he just took a wrister and it just got past Hudobin. He definitely should have saved it.
Yeah.
Still a good shot. Obviously,
Gus picks up the rebound. I don't know who shot it at first. Probably should have checked. Reichel with a sweet game-winning goal. It was in right in front of me too. It was right in front of me too. And then he gets the call up. He gets the call up the next day.
Hang on, question. What is better as an AHL player to score a game-winning goal and then get called up the next day?
I mean,
overtime game-winning goal.
If you haven't seen the play, I suggest you go watch it on the IceHogs YouTube channel. It was a really good play, actually.
Nice pass by Cole Gutman.
He should get a call up soon. Reichel has been called up this season after scoring a game-winning goal.
Yeah, it is.
I'm glad you're keeping track, Nick, because I did not know that. I was not keeping track.
And the other time was kind of like an emergency basis.
Yeah, it was.
Right. You played. It was like New Jersey, right? You played one game in New Jersey and then sent him down again.
Yeah.
Courage McKenzie, who my coworker hates, was a pest all game. Game got chippy quickly, like within the first 10 minutes. There was penalties everywhere. 36 total penalty minutes.
Oh goodness, man!
Across both teams.
That's like that one game against Edmonton this year.
So it was the penalty minutes breakdown was 23 minutes for Rockford, which I think some of those penalties were kind of iffy.
Well, I mean, you got an odd number there. So was there like a fight in there somewhere?
Yeah. So there was. So the Mitchell. So what's his name? Garrett Mitchell. He fought someone.
Oh,
but they did. But they gave him the penalty. They didn't give the other dude the penalty.
They just like beat him up or something.
I don't think Mitchell started anything. I think he was actually like defending his guy, but whatever. So it's 23-13. That was a breakdown of penalty minutes. Stauber played well against a top offense in the league. Texas is number 2, I think, in goals for per game. I think they're only behind the Wranglers, Calgary's affiliate team. And then Rockford gets a huge win against a top team in the AHL. So the Texas Stars started off really badly. They were like in the middle of the pack, and now they shot up to first place in the whole division.
What about the IceHogs too?
Yeah, so IceHogs are now second.
4-game win streak.
So we have So I think we have 41 points. Yeah, we have 41 points. They have 44.
Yeah.
We won the same amount of games. They just have more overtime or shootout losses.
All right. And now with this, I want to bring up 1 point, and then we'll head into IceHogs Players of the Week. I want to say this to anyone who is having trouble watching Blackhawks games this year because the team sucks and they're never winning. Cheer for the IceHogs. Cheer for the IceHogs as much as you've ever cheered for the Blackhawks, because this team is good. This team is going places, and many of these players will be future Hawks because there's a lot of good players on this team, and they're contributing a lot. And not all of them. Some of them won't. But there are some guys here that you will see on the Hawks over the next couple of years being massive contributors. Like 3 of the top 5 scorers in the AHL are Rockford IceHogs. That would be Lucas Reichel, Brett Cini, and David Gust. And
I wonder how long it will last.
I mean, I don't know if they'll be staying in the top 5 of AHL scoring if they stay up in the NHL, but they deserve that honor for now because they've played so well this year.
When was the last time the IceHogs have had this well of scoring? Because it feels like this is like one of the first years I've noticed the IceHogs can actually put up goals.
So there was a playoff one where we swept Manitoba, and then we won quickly against the Wolves, and then we lost to Texas in the.
It's been like a couple years.
That was the Jeremy Colleton coaching year.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
I
don't think it was that.
2017-18.
Let me see this.
I think it was 2017-18.
Yeah,
because that was the season that I don't that was the season I don't remember for the Blackhawks. I paid like no attention to that team because it was so lifeless.
Yeah, that would have been
That
the
was
Jeremy
that was,
Here we go.
that was Jeremy Colleton's full year in the AHL.
God, he was better at the AHL. He was,
So
2018, the 2017-18 season.
oh yeah, it was the 20. Yeah, so we won. So so they actually did better than I thought. They swept the Wolves in 3 games. Then they swept the Manitoba in 4 games. Then they lost in 6 games to Texas in the Western Conference Finals.
And Texas went on to play, I believe, the Marlies in the Calder Cup Finals.
they did.
And they lost
Yes.
them. And they lost them
They
in
lost
7.
Yes,
And
they
that was
did
the
lose in
year.
7.
No, that was the year that the Marlies won the Calder Cup.
And then
So,
that was the year.
That was the last year I can think of that we put up goals at will.
Yeah, go for it.
If you can't watch the games because you don't have AHL TV, which I understand, AHL TV is kind of crappy sometimes. Follow John, it is expensive too. Follow John Fromme on Twitter. He usually live tweets every IceHogs game.
All right, and can you spell the @ for that?
So it's at John JON, and then Fromme FORMI.
All right, is there any
That's
space
No,
or
that's it. No,
just
that's it.
JONFROMI?
Yeah, he usually
Right.
live tweets every game, so
All right,
follow
sounds
him.
good. And along with that, IceHogs Twitter account themselves, they always post clips of goals whenever it is. You can follow Wally's prospect account, CHI_prospects. He usually retweets when the Rockford IceHogs score goals and things along those lines. And they have highlights that come out after every single game, and usually about once a week in Nick's Discord server. We will be watching a Rockford IceHogs game as a watch along. It'll be fun. It's fun. It's a good experience. We got to watch that shootout together. It was a really good time. So stop by. It's worth it. And with that, Nick, I want to come over to you first. Who do you have for Rockford IceHogs Player of the Week?
I would say David Gus, but because John kept calling me out on saying how bad this guy is in the NHL, I'm going Buddy Robinson.
Yes. Buddy.
There. I'm using the Screw City jersey to just basically say screw you there, John.
I'm just saying this. Can you imagine? Can you think of anyone who you think fits the Screw City jersey better than Buddy Robinson? Does that just sound right?
I mean, the name kind of works for it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. All right, John, who have you got for Rockford IceHogs Player of the Week?
I'm gonna go with Mr. David Gust. He had a hat trick, and then I'm sure he had assists and stuff, but I don't have his AHL tracker site pulled up, so he probably has like 6-ish points this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, I am going to give a mention to Jackson Stauber because I thought he played very well over the 2.5 games that he had to play this week, because he actually played more than that. He had 3 different wins that he was a part of, won 3 different games for the IceHogs as the goalie, because he had to come in for Soderblom, and then he won 2 others as the starter. Did very well, stopping pucks in the shootout. But I'm going to go with Lucas Reichel for my Player of the Week. What a fantastic week it is for Reichel. He had 3 points in the first game and 2 points in the second game, or in the last game of the week, capping off for 5 total points this week. And he ends the week with an OTGWG and an NHL call-up. What could be better?
Way to go.
And that is going to do it for this episode of the Hawkey PuckCast. Tune in next week where we will talk all about what happened over the last week of Rockford IceHogs, Chicago Blackhawks prospects, these World Junior Gold Medal and Bronze Medal games that are coming up tomorrow, and everything else that's coming around the hockey landscape that affects the Chicago Blackhawks. So thank you, as always, for joining us. Nick?
Thanks for coming by, and let's go Hawks.
Yes, and Nick, tell us everything about if you are on this channel. Yes.
Cover if you know already, I cover the Blackhawks games every game and sometimes have those live streams every now and then.
Mhm.
But that's how it's been going, and thank you for watching.
Yep. So please be sure to subscribe to Windy City Hockey on YouTube if you are listening right now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you want the video podcast, we have it right here on this YouTube channel. And if you are watching right now, you can listen on Spotify, Acast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Just search up the Hawkey PuckCast on those platforms, and you'll be able to find us right there. And thank you also for joining us, John. I can't.
I'm over on this side.
Yeah. I messed up because it's a mirrored. So
yes,
I'm pointing at you right now, but I'm not actually. Hi.
Yeah.
Doing it again. I'm like the scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz. I'm going both ways.
Welcome to the behind the scenes of doing YouTube videos.
John, thank you for joining us.
I'm gonna be watching the IceHogs in Iowa, so please win.
And hopefully, Reichel's not going to be there, but it'd be cool for you.
Yes, rub it in, Tyler.
Yeah, he's up. He's ours now. He's ours.
Hopefully,
now.
I can see Reichel in what is this? Just about a week or so. I'm going to be at the game against the Sabres.
I don't like you right now.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And with that, my name is Tyler. This has been the Hawkey PuckCast, and we will see y'all next time. Take care.